Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Super Awesome Show. Our special guest seems to be running a little behind, so we thought we'd get started without him and just, hey, we want to talk about super awesome stuff. So all we need is two super awesome dudes here, right here, to talk about
Like
super awesome
we
stuff.
could do it. The two of us, we could do it for 10 more years. It's never gonna be,
What do you mean could?
boring.
What do you mean could? Will?
We can.
Will?
Well, I hope Kush is fine, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love this guy. No matter if he's on time today or something. Obviously, something prevents him to be with us.
Right.
And I know this gentleman. Actually, he's on my radar from Steve Chandler, which is funny. We spoke yesterday with the wonderful and amazing maestro of leadership, Stephen McGee, and he's on my radar because of Steve Chandler, and Kush is on my radar because of Steve Chandler. But I really was introduced to Kush through Steve Hardison. It's fun. Last year when he invited to go to the Birmingham conference, Bean conference, which was absolutely fantastic. We connected and we met in Birmingham, which is it was a special day to meet so many amazing people, including Kush. So, what's your like main thing from yesterday, Tony? If I may ask, like probably some stuff resonated with you more than, and the whole thing was a huge bomb of gold and diamonds. But what are the ones that's shining to you right now, if you think about it?
Well, before we get into that, welcome everybody to the Super Awesome Show.
Excellent. You bought yourself some time with the trailer. I love it. I totally warned you not that I will ask you this question. It's all scripted, guys. All.
So one thing that I really enjoy about Steve McGee is that he is a leadership coach. And you and I have talked about this before, Alexander. Leadership is probably, of all the things we know, all the things we learn, all the things we coach on, leadership is the closest to my heart. And even though I don't necessarily call myself a leadership coach, that's where I go. And so hearing him talk about working with CEOs and working with high-level executives, you know, everybody in the world has the same sort of, I don't like to say the word problems, but I'm going to use the word problems. Everyone has the same areas for improvement. Doesn't matter if you're at this level or at this level. The areas for improvement are all the same. And hearing him talk about that, and I loved his portal of possibilities. I'm going to use the crap out of that, Stephen. If you're watching this later, thank you for that one. That one's going to get used all over the place.
Yeah. Portal of possibility.
Yeah. But hearing him talk about, like, I didn't want to step on his story, but when he talked about he was working with the CEO and he had a couple of executives that were out having drinks before a meeting the night before, and the guy walked away. And the reason that hit kind of close to home to me is I've been in that same scenario where when I was back in Washington State and working my way up through the ranks there, I had a very similar situation where I was out with a couple of guys and it was clear they were getting out of hand. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm out of here, you know, and left. Found out later that they did get out of hand. And meanwhile, I made it to the meeting on time and everything went well from there. So some of those stories that he shares hit very close to home for experiences I've had as well. And the leadership principles, you know, I started talking about the Dale Carnegie principles, and I didn't get into them because, you know, it's been years for him and it was years for me until just a couple of days ago when I found him again. But the things we learn and the things we teach, things he spoke to, are all in line with the stuff that I learned in that Dale Carnegie course. And I just it's not that I didn't necessarily implement it, but I wasn't consciously thinking about it until I found this. It's called the Golden Book, and it's literally golden rules, and they are literally that. They're gold. And I hadn't found it until I was just going through, we were cleaning our garage and I went through a tub and I'm like, oh my goodness, look at this. I haven't seen this since 2008. And I opened it up. I'm like, oh, this is so perfect. And so
and you changed, right? In that time, you changed a lot. And you listen and read the book in a totally different way. I can bet on this.
Oh, totally different way. And I can say that at the time, back in 2007, when I took this, I was a first time first-time supervisor, working my way up through the organization, and they wanted to make sure they sent me to several different trainings. This was one of the first ones, and it was all about leadership and communication. And I will say that it was a 13-week course. 13-week course. It was once a week, live and in person. You went there for 3 hours, and you had homework in between. And I will say that single course probably had the most impact on my career at that time going forward. And learned leadership principles, learned effective communication. And from that point on was when I was able to actually build and grow teams and different leaders, to where a couple of the people that worked for me at the time are actually now VPs and general managers and things like that. So it's to look back, and one of these guys who's now a general manager, he recently reached out to me. We reconnected, and he said the phrase, he said, "Tony, there's no way I would have what I have today if not for the mentorship you provided me." And I was like, wow, it literally brought me to tears when I heard that, you know?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, still, we could have like 3 hours with him and it will still be as good. as full with gold as 1 hour and 1 hour a bit. If you missed that one, I want you to watch it. And really one of my favorites was about listening times and times again. This is the topic I come back to. This is the topic we speak about and work on with most of my clients who are also leaders of all levels, including executives, high-level executives, C-level, board members, and investors and people who are business owners, entrepreneurs. It's all about listening. No matter where you are, if you are with your spouse, if you are with your investor, if you are in a board meeting, if you are even in a waiting line, if you want to buy some grocery, if you do that, or you're in a waiting line to get your car washed, right? How you listen, you never know what you can create. And people think, oh, only certain occasions matter, but actually how you do anything, you do everything.
Yeah.
And you can practice listening everywhere. You can actively listen to yourself. Now Tony's gone. Tony, I miss you.
I was highlighting you, man. You were on a
Highlighting
roll.
me, and I go, "Where's Tony? Oh no, I'm alone on the live stream. This is what happens. It's all scripted, guys. It's all like exactly as we spoke. 7 minutes, 33 seconds. You will put me on stage, and I'll be, oh, Tony, where are you? So
before you continue,
Sure, go ahead.
Before you continue, I want to acknowledge a couple of the folks that are watching right now, because you are up like super god awful early to be here with us today, and we really want to acknowledge you for that presence and that willingness to come hear the gold that we have to speak about today. So
it's a great idea.
Yeah,
maybe they have any questions or want to share something with us. I want to invite you guys who are live with us right now. Please share what's going on in your life. Did you wish Stephen? If you have any questions, anything is going on that's significant, anything especially super awesome.
Yeah, well, I know Ralph is with us, and he was on with us yesterday. So that's awesome. I know Hugh's here. He was on with us yesterday. That's the one. Hugh's up there. It's like 3:30 a.m. for him, or 3:40 a.m. for him. But that's dedication there. I have another friend, Steve, who was going to get on, but he's in Pacific time, which means it's 2:40 a.m. He's like, I'm going to watch the replay. And Andrea, Andrea Vossler, she messaged me last night. She's like, what time are you guys on with Kush tomorrow? And I said, and she's in Pacific Northwest, Pacific time. I'm like, it's 2:30 a.m. your time. She's like, yeah, I think I'll catch the recording. Yeah, no problem.
So while people are typing, if they're typing, I want to invite you to type. Don't hide, guys.
Yeah.
Well, look at us. We are not hiding, not really. And leading by
example. Steve did make it. It's 2:43 a.m. Steve, welcome. We're glad you made it, man. I mean,
how are you?
We're honestly, we're a little concerned about Kush. He's not responded yet, but we were supposed to be on with him this morning. Decided to go live anyway ourselves, and so Steve,
maybe I can share a bit of gold while we're waiting for people to respond and type in. One thing about listening, in my Be With session with Steve Hardison, there was this little bit which is significant for me at the end. we had only a couple of minutes left, so we're almost complete with our time, almost at our time. If you have anything else important to share, or if you have any other questions to ask, this is the time. And I'm like, okay, Steve, what do you see? I don't see. What am I missing? He looks at me in his wonderful way and says, "Listen." So he pointed out on my listening, and everybody is fun because I had a session with Ankush literally the day before in person.
Mhm.
And he said essentially the same thing. And the last years, I've got so many compliments, acknowledgments, and good stuff on the listening.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, it's not at least totally like lacking. It's at least okay. And I was so speechless when I heard that. And I was like, oh my God. And then the thought came, I think I went back into in where I was sitting on the sofa, the chair, and I remember I thought, oh my God, how much more money do I have to pay to start listening? And that's the story about listening. You create from the place you listen from.
Right.
You create the results, you create your responses, you create the conversation, and all of the creation, this is Steve again, all of the creation happens in a conversation. So if you're creating new stuff for your business, you will probably talk about it at least with yourself, or
Right.
with a pen and piece of paper. You will create stuff, and then you will maybe meet your business partners or investors or people who are with you,
Mhm.
maybe your clients, and you will create with them.
Right.
And how you listen literally defines the interaction, defines what happens, and defines the success, the outcomes, the root. And it can be, in a relationship, it can be, am I listening to my spouse to be like, oh no, I'm right, you're not right, you know that, right?
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
or am I listening? Okay, I'm missing something. She has or my spouse has something, some gold to share with me. What's the gold? If I'm listening for the gold, guess what I will receive?
Yes. Well, and there's two things there, and one, I love your spouse example because as soon as we try to be right, we're automatically wrong. As soon as you put it, as soon as you think you're right or try to be right, then you've already gone the wrong direction. And to listening, it's funny. It was probably about the time we started working with Kush for this AJC school that I started consciously being aware of that, and then kind of dropped off a little bit. And then I recently did my ebook on I did an ebook on the power of 10, which is the 10 superpowers, and one of them is the power of listening. Since I wrote that ebook, I've been even more aware of it. So when I'm having a first time conversation with somebody, and the objective is to get to know this person, get to know what their challenges is, I've gotten back into the habit that I've coached other people on, and I actually set a timer. I will set a timer for 10 minutes, and I am not allowed to talk about myself for at least the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you ask somebody how they're doing, what's going on, and they may go, and you, like, asking you to respond. And to that, I'll say, well, why don't you elaborate more on what you were talking about with your job? Or can you tell me more about that with your
Yeah.
spouse? And
You're being
so,
curious with them, but
right.
honestly curious.
Yeah. So, and authentically curious. But for the first 10 minutes until that timer goes off, I'm not allowed to talk about myself. It's literally just continuing to ask questions and get more out of them.
Yeah.
And usually it goes longer than that, but I make sure that at least for that first 10 minutes, it's just listening.
Yeah, it's great. And also, like, if there's a one-on-one, we're talking about leaders and everybody who is also maybe in an informal leadership position, or maybe someone who is in a relationship and who is not. At least you are in a relationship with yourself and life
Right.
and the internet if you're watching, and the economy and so on. So half of the time in a one-on-one, in a conversation, can be literally, I pay attention to what's said. I'm receiving what's said without going to, oh, and I have a story of my own, and I'm waiting until I can respond, or like I'm judging. Oh, there's an interesting comment. Do you want to read it out loud?
Sure, go for it.
I always reminded of the golden rule of life. in leadership, we need to look after ourselves first. Yes, Steven was talking about that as well,
Yep.
how
Yep.
important that is, and how important a morning routine can be. It doesn't have to be like 8 hours. Mine today was 5. It was an experiment.
Yep.
I had a coaching conversation before, very, very special coaching conversation. I prepared myself for 5 hours, never did that. Actually, it's marvelous. I think I'm keeping at least parts of that. Obviously, not always. Stuff happens, life happens, but
Right.
whenever you can create more time for yourself, you will benefit and people in your life will benefit. So that's a
And
great comment.
it's a great comment, Ralph, and I love what you're talking about. And that's one of the takeaways from Steven's conversation yesterday is that morning routine, is that first sunlight, that grounding, and so you guys know that with me having a day job right now, I even at work I will walk outside to get that first light, even if I'm at work. However, I can't always do the grounding because it's still dark out when I get here and it's not able to do that. So the grounding doesn't always happen, but the first light, I'm very adamant about that because it's not just
For people who have no idea what is grounding.
okay. Grounding is you can get actually grounding mats, but it's literally like draining the electric current out of you through the ground. I mean, you're literally like releasing negative electrical energy out of you. Like literally you have a battery that's positive and negative, and when you put your feet on the ground, it's like any, if you know anything about electrical, you always have to have a ground and a positive. And when you're putting your bare feet, by the way, bare feet on the ground, you're releasing that energy into the ground, that negative electrical energy out of your body. So
And
that's what
your rules,
grounding
like, does it have to be concrete or does it have to be like earth, or what's the rule?
it should be. It needs to be earth. It really needs to be earth. And so a lot of times, so here in Florida, like weekends. So a lot of weekends when now it's starting to get warmer, I go out fishing first thing in the morning from the beach. And so that would be my grounding. I immediately take my shoes off and I'm on the beach and I'm walking
I want
around.
to see some pictures in your feed from that and
You
from
got
your
it.
feed.
You absolutely got it. Because I'm actually, this weekend's supposed to be a little chilly, so it won't be this weekend, but next week I'm going for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I also want to invite people who listen to this one, to the other ones, to not only listen for information, guys, apply it. Like, I don't want to create always, here an example, but I actually applied the stuff Steven shared yesterday with us in the morning, this morning. And this is gold. This is gold. If you listen for information, you miss the most gold. If you apply it and see if it works, don't be discouraged if it don't, because you can go back and say, okay, well, maybe I missed some bits and pieces, and you will discover those, by the way. So don't listen once, listen twice, 3 times, 5 times. The more you listen, the more you look for the gold, the more you look for diamonds, the more you will find. Same with all good books you love. Same with every resource you have. Or maybe you have a favorite podcast. Maybe you have super awesome show is your favorite now, I hope. If it is, send us a postcard, send us, I don't know, an email. Do we have an email, Tony? I don't know if we have an official email. You can send us a message or a comment, type in now. How do you like the show? Is it valuable for you? What are your wishes? Who's your ideal guest?
Right. And so Hugh made a comment I want to respond to here. And, Hugh, when you talk about doing unto others as they do unto you, so that is kind of a loaded question because I will do unto others as I would want them to do unto me, not as they do unto me, because that's just, why would I put that control in somebody else's hand? I have control. I have the choice to lead with love, regardless of what people say or do to me. So I will do unto others as I would want them to do to me. So I wouldn't do it as they are doing to me, because that takes it out of my control, if that makes sense. Oh, here's another one.
Yeah. And also towards the end, Steve shared something really, really profound about leadership and loving. How those are connected.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's the essence of the work I do. If people are willing to go there, sometimes they are not, and this is fine. I'm not the one to judge, but the essence of the work I do is to guide people to be more human with each other, to treat each other less like objects and more like humans who have their own desires, wishes, hearts, health, families, and to bring actually the purpose, the mission is to bring more love, care, and humanity back into the corporate world and leadership space. That's the work I do.
Yes.
And it was so beautiful to hear Steven, who works with CEOs who command companies with 30 and more billions in revenue.
Right.
He deals with same stuff, and if this is applicable everywhere, you don't have to be a CEO of such a big company or have any particular job for that matter. You can just choose to be 1% more loving, 1% more forgiving, more human, more kind, more caring, more empathetic, and pick the qualities of love that you wish. And this is not necessarily, romantic or sexual. People, I think, mix up those all the time, but intimacy is something else, which brings me to another guest we have. If you missed the one with Safa, watch it. It is about sex, pleasure, desires, taboos. Go ahead and watch it. So, I don't think Kush is able to join, and I want to collectively, Tony, you, me, and everybody who's with us, everybody who is watching this, to send him light and love and blessings. I hope he's well. I hope his family, everybody is well, and either way, sending light.
Yeah.
He will receive it, I'm sure.
Yes.
And yeah, anything else we want to add or do before we close for today, Tony?
Well, the one thing I wanted to talk about that we kind of alluded to with Steven yesterday, and that you and I have talked about before, is stay in creation mode. Stay in creation mode, not resistance mode, not victim mode. Stay in creation mode. And we talked about the difference in language of when you're talking to a team member, or you're talking to somebody in your life, the difference between why didn't you get that project done on time? Well, that puts somebody immediately in resistance, wall up, victim mode. Is and like Steven said yesterday, what's going well about this project? And then you break the walls down. So think about that when you're doing that and that's talking to other people. Now think about how you're talking to yourself, because you have the language you use with yourself is the same way. Like, for example, when somebody gives you a compliment, somebody says, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing in that shirt or that or whatever that is," and you're like, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's not." That right there is downplaying yourself. That language is downplaying yourself. Instead, you can just say, "Thank you very much. Thank you for noticing." Accept that acknowledgement and own it. When you downplay
most people deflect it and downplay it and pay back with a compliment or they think, oh, it's not genuine. They want something from me. Like that's the mental model of that.
Right.
And what that does is the mental model, because it's you block everything good that comes your way.
And that's how we've been programmed.
Yeah.
So just accept those, own those, let that build your confidence, and then helps you stay in creation mode. And when you stay in creation mode, remember, I've talked about this before, and I actually got this from both, first from Steve Chandler and then from Steve Hardison, and I used the bejesus out of it. And I know so many things, videos, courses I do, clients. Remember this: the words create and react have the same letters rearranged, except create has an extra E, because it takes energy to create versus react. Remember that. Put in that little extra bit of energy to create. Get out of reactive mode and get into creation mode.
Creating versus reacting. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a distinction, a very powerful one for you.
Yes. Yes. That's it. And so in the world of creation, that's where I was going with this. In the world of creation, for the people in the US watching, it is very early in the morning. I know it's early for me, and I know it's even earlier for Hugh and even earlier for Steve. Guess what? You are up really early. You have the opportunity to create an amazing day. So go out there and do it. Consciously create your day to be the best damn day of your life.
Yeah, it's a choice, guys. It is a choice.
Yes.
Thanks, Chris Doris. We invite you, and Chris, in case you're watching, I want to officially invite you to be a super awesome guest in our show. Can we edit the clip and send him the clip? Can we do that?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And I've already been nudging him a bit. I am very confident he's going to join us on the show.
Yeah, and I'm reading this book. It's absolutely fantastic.
I haven't
This
read that one yet.
my work will benefit. It is already benefiting from this.
Mhm.
And the other one, man, I absolutely love the book of mental toughness mantras. Again, the
I
book of mental toughness mantras is gold. I give it left and right. My clients get it. It's just so good. So
I literally keep that book, the book of mental toughness. I literally keep it on my desk at work because there's so many of those when something happens that may not be preferred. I'm going up 42.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Every single mantra from that book is on my notes. I have my second brain. Spoiler alert. Every single one is in there with
Yeah.
like my own gist of it, and I use it daily. I use it daily too. Okay, we're not going into too many details. So
No, we could carry on
guys,
again.
it's beautiful. This is work. It's constant. It never ends. Spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
And it is actually freaking beautiful because you can go to the gym. I just came back from the gym a couple of hours back before I met the client. You can overdo in the gym. I think most of us been there, not once, not twice, right? And even some people create injuries by not taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
With this stuff, with the internal stuff, with the deep inner work, with the mental toughness, with strength, with resilience, with power, you cannot overdo it.
Right.
The more you do it, the more powerful you get. So
Right.
that's also an invitation for you. It can be tiny little details. Tiny little details, they matter as well.
Mm-hmm.
And step by step, even 0.5%, it combines. If you know compound interest rate,
The compound effect.
exponential growth, the compound effect, 0.5%, 1%, you get it. At the end, it is massive. It doesn't have to be huge leap. Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, Tony.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for being here with us today. We're doing a short show today with our special guest not being here. And so we really appreciate you guys and keep on joining, keep on sharing these videos. They're only going to continue to get better. We're going to continue to do these. We're having so much fun. We're going to have amazing people on and you're just going to continue to get gold. Just listen for the gold. Don't step over the gold. Like we talked about, the power of listening.
Yeah.
And this is just going to continue to be the most super awesome show you've ever seen.
Absolutely. And apply it. And please share with us when you watch or after you can send us a message, write a comment to the video. What's your experience? What are your goal takeaways? Because others who read that will also benefit. You will benefit because you create the essence of what you're taking away. We will learn from you. And especially if you share how you applied that, what's your experience, what's the impact of that stuff, because then it's going to be even more awesome. I promise you that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Super Awesome Show.
Bye.